Hello, everyone. Welcome to the episode 101 of SoLeadSaturday, Solid Leadership Saturday. No doubt we are leading together and we have already celebrated our 100th episodes. To begin with our 101st episode, we have a guest, Michael Stein, who is an entrepreneur, actor, writer, director, producer, and a stand up comedian who has acted and worked with multiple Academy Award winning actors, filmmakers, producers, and Fortune 500 leaders. Michael is the host of the Long Shot Leaders podcast, which tells the story of underdogs who have found success. This is like a must have a guest for Solid Saturday, and I can't wait to hear from him. So, would you like to join me and welcome him on our Solid Saturday show slash podcast? And let's just welcome him and hear more about his career journey. How did he find his areas of interest and managing to lead that? Hey, hi, Michael. Very happy to have you on the show and really appreciate all your time and consideration being on the show.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'm definitely looking forward to this episode and many more people out there or the students out there because your profile is quite a versatile profile. And we would look forward to, about exploring about your areas of interest as well as how you are managing to lead it. To begin with, our very first segment is about exploring how one can find their passion or the interest. So the question that we have is, how did you find your area of interest, that too specifically in a creative field, and what motivates you to be there where you are today?
Well, I have, there's many different avenues to a person's life, right? So my interest as far as my the creative work that I've had in the past, being a filmmaker or an actor, my first form of creative, I was the youngest in the family. I had a lot of health issues, and I was a lot of, I had ADHD and everything, and dyslexia. So the first bit of creativity I had was making people laugh, making them laugh or making them laugh at me. So I guess comedy, when I started doing stand-up comedy when I was 19. So that was like my, creative outlet to become a writer, an actor, director, filmmaker. And, I would think the first bit of creativity I had is, learning to deal with your inadequacies, whatever those are, and using comedy for those.
Wow, that's great actually. And I would encourage audience to check your website to know more about you because you have a pretty interesting website which is about your podcast as well, which is longshotleaders.com, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yep. So I would encourage audience as well to check and learn more about Michael. Moving towards our next segment is more about questions from the audience, and we have a very first segment from the audience, question from the audience, which is, what are the challenges do you see as a stand-up comedian when it comes to creative writing, performing, and delivering a right message with a laughter?
Okay, so the first challenge for stand-up comedy is that, you can be inherently funny. You've done really well. You're at the parties. Everybody's like, God, you're so funny. And then what you do stand-up comedy, though, the challenge is to take that consciousness of doing well and then heightening it when you're on stage. The lights are bright. You're in front of 150 people and you have nothing but you and a microphone. So you need to kind of get yourself prepared. So the biggest challenge is to bring up those moments of naturalness when you would, be at a party and you're like, oh, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just with my friends and I'm just going, the stream of consciousness of premise punchline is being delivered. There's no problem for that. Now, getting used to that, putting in the time, realizing that you're going to suck the first time because you're going to be nervous. You're going to be conscious of like where everything is. Things are going to be moving so fast. You're not going to be ready. It's okay. Just realize that, that's the first step for a young comedian. Just realize that you need to put in your reps, and failure is a part of the process. And that's what I would say most, is keep on doing it and write as much material and prepare your material. And most importantly, after you prepared your material, then forget it. So you're not thinking about the material.
That is a very wise advice, actually. I think whenever you write, you keep thinking about it. So it's very, very important. Actually, you should not think whatever you already made out there. Actually, whatever is out there, you should not be thinking about it.
Right. And the most important thing that I will say about stand-up comedy is the rapport with the audience. So the most important thing is all else can go down the tank, but you need to have rapport. And if you don't have that, nothing else matters. So that's why you hone your craft, you hone your set, what you want to talk about, but then you need to forget it, because if you don't forget it, you don't worry about it, because the most important thing is at that point, once you get up on stage, is having a rapport with the audience. That's most important.
Yep. And that is definitely very, very true. So thank you so much for sharing. Moving towards one more important question that we have under the same segment is, how broad is this area, which is stand-up comedy, I guess, and are there other stand-up comedy open mics or other performing opportunities in this area?
How broad is stand-up comedy? Open mics. Well, open mics are everywhere. Every night, every stand-up comedy place, has, like, on their slower night, they'll do an open mic, because they know the comedians are going to come in. On the bigger nights, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or pretty much Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you're going to want to get the bigger comedians in there. You don't need an open mic. But on the slower nights, Sundays and Mondays, they'll bring in young comedians. So they're everywhere. Every single comedy place has an open mic, but there's a lot of comedians, especially if you're in LA or New York. So if you're in a smaller city, probably some places in Jersey, you could probably find some, open mics, and you're not going to have to wait that long. So it's not too tough to get on. So but every city has a comedy place, most cities. And there's an open mic for every single one of those. So it's pretty broad as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. So when you see about the opportunities, I think definitely people are thinking about the paid opportunities where they can earn as well. So how do you see that area can give them that kind of opportunity when students look into this area?
When students looking into
stand-up comedy as their career area, right?
Wow, that's a tough one. Well, I would don't do it with the intention to make money. Now, do it because you have something else. My girlfriend was at the she knew of Robin Williams, and she said, when I was a kid, she's like Robin Williams. She's like, my boyfriend is a big fan of yours. Can you write him something? He says, okay. So he wrote on a napkin, and he wrote, "Mike, good luck with comedy. If not, study welding." Which means and she said, "What does that mean?" She says, "Well, I told my dad I want to be a comedian, and that if he says, well, if you're going to be a stand-up comedian, that's fine, but you should study another trade that's responsible, like welding, so you have something to fall back on. So if you're going to do stand-up comedy, realize that it's not going to make you money. It could, but you need to do that because open mics don't pay. Even when you get a comedy job, when you get a job as a comedian, you're only going to be paid $50 a night, if that, for doing a set, so you're going to have to keep your day job, and you're going to have to just realize that, it's the kind of lifestyle that you really have to pay your dues and put it in there. And then you have to, either money's not a problem for you, or, but you don't need to college for stand-up. Doing stand-up is just going into a comedy club or bar and making sure that you do stand-up 7 nights a week. If you want to be serious about it, 7 nights a week, and write 7 days a week.
Wow. That is a great advice, I guess. And that this kind of a message also we're trying to convey to the students. It's not like limiting yourself into one particular area. You can have multiple passions running alongside, or you can have multiple areas of interest while growing in. So it's not like, it's more about exploring and finding out what suits you better, rather than just keeping one as ongoing act. So as you mentioned, that while doing the stand-up comedy, even though that is your passion, or you feel like you want to do something great in that particular area, unless until you get onto the track where you can have that expertise, definitely you should have the parallel interest alongside, where whether you there you will study as well and do well in your academics as well.
There is one other thing. If you're a resourceful person and you're an entrepreneur and you're going to college, let's say, and you want to get, you need money and you want to do stand-up comedy. I've done this and I have friends that have done it. They'll rent out or they'll have a venue and they'll just say, look, they can get it for free. They say, look, I'm going to bring in a crowd and we're going to charge to get in and you can have the alcohol and we're just going to take the admission price for people going in this one room to do for the stand-up comedy room.
Yep,
and then you can make money off the door, and then the bar and the restaurant gets money off of the bar. So that's one way to do it to make some money.
Yes. That sounds great. And thank you so much for sharing. Moving towards our next segment, which is more about relaxation or fun segment. And here, what I'm going to give is I'm going to give you 3 keywords which are more or associated with your profile or the career. And you have to just tell me whatever comes to your mind. So it can be a abstract content, it can be a replacement keyword, or it can be a short definition or something. So whatever comes to your mind, you have to just tell me. So are you ready?
Yeah, I have the ADHD, so I'll just blurt out.
I'm hoping that you are going to do great actually, because stand-up comedians, I feel they have a great sense of humor.
And I don't have a sensory. So so go ahead.
Yeah, so they would be more impromptu and, good at this particular kind of sections where you have to come up with quick things, whatever comes to your mind. So are you ready?
Sure.
Yeah. So the first keyword that we have is entrepreneurship.
Struggle.
Why do you think so?
Oh, because in the beginning, whenever you start an entrepreneurship venture, you're going to struggle in the beginning. That's the hardest part, is when you're starting something. When you put processes in place and you're starting to roll, that's when it gets easier. It's not like the work gets less. It's just that you understand the work. You're able to put processes in place to make sure that, you're able to do more with less amount of time. So you could do more, but you're doing a lot. But you've automated, either you automated it, you VA'd it, or, with a virtual assistant, or you're done with some form of it. But struggle is in the beginning of entrepreneurship. So when you think of entrepreneurship, you think at the very beginning, be prepared to work really hard. Or if you think you're saying, well, my entrepreneurship venture is easy, it might well be easy. But you know what? The hardest part of that is going to be in the beginning. So get ready to struggle.
That's great. And second keyword that we have is it's not as I couldn't keep it as one word, but it is stand-up comedy.
Stand-up comedy? Struggle.
No. Come on.
That is such a thing now, because it's stand-up comedy is learning how to fail is stand-up comedy. And if you can embrace the failure and get comfortable with that, because when you fail in stand-up comedy, in the beginning, it feels a lot worse than the laughs feel great. So, that laugh is intoxicating, but the lack of laugh and crickets when you deliver what you think is your best punchline is so painful. So I would say, I hate to say, one word is learn how to deal with failure. Is the first thing that comes to mind with stand-up comedy, and then build your blocks of successes.
Yeah, I think one more important aspect is learn to laugh at yourself as well.
Sure, absolutely.
If you didn't deliver the proper joke for the laughter of the other people, you should be able to laugh as well at yourself. So if you are able to laugh at yourself, actually, other criticism doesn't count much.
Well, a lot of American comedians don't laugh. Some of them don't laugh at themselves. In England, a lot of self-deprecation. When I do stand-up comedy, most of my stuff is self-deprecating to make fun of myself, because that's how I grew up, making fun of myself, or making fun of things that are closely that I deal with. But a lot of I think that is a little humble pie is the best solution for not just stand-up comedy, but for entrepreneurship or any kind of artistry, because it serves you well to have that empathetic, humbleness. So yeah, I'd say learn how to make fun of yourself for sure.
Yeah. And the third keyword that we have is career.
Career, long run.
Yeah, it's
a career. It's not a sprint. get ready for a long distance run, which will set you up for success. That's a long run.
Yep. Very true. And thank you so much. You were really great. And definitely those are like a true facts, actually, when we think about those areas, whether it is entrepreneurship or whether it is something which you always think outside of the mob. You are not just following the crowd when you are trying to establish by yourself and you are trying to get into some distinctive field like a stand-up comedy. Definitely it is very, very important that you are ready to fail and learn from those failures. So thank you so much for sharing. And moving towards our next segment, which is more about little more knowing you and exploring your career, work, or volunteering. Here we have a question that can we know more about your firm Abdac.inc and some of the initiatives or work you do, like Tarped, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So Abidac is a company that it's the incorporation name of a company I started. But the real company started in 2000. It was TARPS, tarpsplus.com. Abidac is an acronym that I started 4 years after I had to incorporate, and I created a name that meant something to me, which is an acronym meaning a better atmosphere dedicated to all kind. That's what Abidac stands for. I started my TARP company because I was a filmmaker and an actor and a comedian for a long time. And my career is very long, but I'll spare you the details where it was up and down. Lots of success, then failure, success, failure. I did an award-winning short film, and then I was almost getting close to make a movie deal. When you make a short film, then studios get noticed. They notice you and they say, "We want to see your screenplay." I got close to making a big movie, and it fell through. And I was so tired after 2 years of this, because I've been spending 15 years and trying to make a career in Hollywood. I said, I need to be an entrepreneur again. And I just wanted to do something away from Hollywood. And I wanted to be able to think of a product that everybody needed that can be used to help people. And I thought, why not? Yeah, TARPS was something that, a lot of people needed, and it would fit well for camping and outdoors. And I thought there'd be something adventure oriented. So I started selling that on the internet, which was, still new in 2000, and it just took. And then hurricanes came around, and I supplied a lot of, tarps for the hurricanes, and Katrina and Florida. They actually started calling me Hurricane Mike because I bought out the whole country of other vendors, and I supplied the United States government with tarps. And that really catapulted the business. It grew really fast. And through that, when I was a nightclub promoter when I was in my early 20s, in my teens. And I used to donate canned food for the homeless because my dad was homeless. He was a New York street kid, homeless kid who became a millionaire and then became homeless again. And then I said, I want to do the same thing I did with nightclubs. When somebody would come to a nightclub, you give a canned food for one of my big events I would do. I'd let them get in for half price if they gave a canned food for the homeless. So with the tarps, I decided, you know what? The night before Thanksgiving, which is when we do that canned food drive for the homeless for my nightclubs when I was 20, when I was older, I said, I want to do something with these tarps. So then every Thanksgiving, the Los Angeles homeless, which has the highest, the New York and LA have the highest homeless population. I started giving out tarps at the LA Mission, which is a big event every Thanksgiving. And we give out over 1,000 tarps. We're doing it again this year, over 1,000 tarps for the LA City homeless. And we've been doing that for about almost more than half the age of the business. And that's how I got involved with that. It's like a history from doing it at nightclubs and, starting with canned food drive to just wanted to, that time of year is a time that, it feels better to give, and I gain a lot from that. And I'm able to do that with, the business and the product that we sell.
Wow. This is awesome, actually. And great to learn. And I hope that audience will find it interesting as well and would like to help you grow it further. So thank you so much for sharing. And our second last segment is more about tips or advice. And here you can support your answer with books or courses. We already discussed actually in the earlier segment how stand-up comedian can be a career path. But just to tweak the question over here, rather than keeping it only, related to stand-up comedian, because you do a lot of things. You are an entrepreneur, you are an actor, you are a writer, you are a director, you are a producer, and then you are a stand-up comedian. So we would like to know more about, what kind of a tips or advice would you like to give to the students who are looking to have their passion and their multiple areas of interest going together, like, how they can grow together in those areas, and what kind of advice would you like to give to them?
This is a great subject because there's a very big discussion that we could have, but we'll keep it abbreviated, about passion and opportunity. So you have your passions, and I believe in going for your passions. They say when you want to go for your passions, burn your boats, which is an old saying to where you if we want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. But I say burn the boats, but save yourself a raft. So what's important to me is I did stand-up comedy when I was 19. That was the very first thing. I also, 6 months before I did that, when I graduated high school, my first day, I started a business. And after 2 weeks, I failed miserably. So then I gathered my forces again. I did stand-up comedy. I did well. I've done stand-up comedy off and on ever since then. But there was a time where I was really getting serious about stand-up comedy. And filmmaking and everything else. And you try and you give yourself a limit. It depends on what you want. For me, I wanted a family. So that's a conflict between my passion and the opportunity. So I went for an opportunity. I said, I'm going to still do stand-up comedy, but the filmmaking is so time extensive, So I started my business, which actually I got into to help me make another film. That's why initially I started this business.
Yeah, this is really great, a career path to learn from, because I think along the journey of it, you find something like, how you can juggle between the two things and how you can create many more opportunities for yourself. So this is a kind of a learning you get through your journey and the experiences that you get. So this is really very interesting to learn from your career path, actually, or the career journey. And thank you so much for sharing. It is truly motivational to see you, because you mentioned that as a kid you struggled as a kind of kid with the dyslexia, and now when I see you speaking, it's like truly motivational for anyone, like, who are trying to, who coming up with the excuses that, I don't have this or I don't have that. Like nowadays kids worry about, not having the laptop of their own choice, or,
Right.
mobile of their own choice. But it's truly inspiring to see somebody who has the difficulties, but to how to overcome those difficulties and do well for yourself in your life. So thank you so much for being the guest, actually, on the
my pleasure.
Saturday. Really appreciate it. And I see a true leader in you, because you overcame all the challenges came along your way, and you're doing well for yourself. So you are truly leading your areas of expertise. So what is your leadership style, and any specific leader that you always follow or admire, and why?
Well, I try to serve, what I run a company and I have employees, and whatever I do, though, I try to, let my guiding light be a servant's heart. I let, love, guide my heart. So, it doesn't mean that everything's lovey-dovey. It just means that when somebody says something that challenges you, or you have a challenging time, because there's going to be challenges, to let, first of all, ask yourself empowering questions. That's number one. Number two, have a kind heart. And then make sure that you make your adjustments and move forward. But that's the most important thing that I tried to, my management style is to prepare. 95% of success is preparation, and manage with a kind heart, and basically, learn from your mistakes, and try not to make the same mistake twice.
Wow, that's great. And any specific leader that you follow or admire, and why?
God, no, there's several, there's people that have picked up along the way. My dad was a New York kind of a street hustler guy, but then there was, the formality of integrity, similar to people like Peter Guber, he owns the Dodgers and the Golden State Warriors, and he's a big movie producer. I knew him when I was younger and worked with him. So that was somebody who's really impressionable. Tony Robbins, who I've studied. I've done everything that Tony Robbins done. I've been into Mali and his resort out there. And he's somebody that, I really look at. And basically everybody, even my podcast, everybody every day, nonstop, taking everything that you can, that you think is success leaves clues, right? So you take everything that you can from successful people and adopt them. So the journey continues until the day we take our last breath.
Wow, that's great actually, and it was great chatting with you. I also felt very happy to see somebody who struggle and then achieve something that, and you see them established as well in different areas. So thank you so much for being the Solid Saturday guest. This is definitely a value add episode to my series, and thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. So this is all about Michael and the way he's talking and overcame all the challenges in his life. You can see that he's definitely a leader. And to close our today's episode, we have a closure quote from Kevin Hart, which is along the one of his our today's guest areas of expertise, stand-up comedy. So stand-up can take you in so many different places. Man, so many doors can be opened up from stand-up comedy. And the first one that was opened up for me was acting. But you can go from acting to being a TV personality, to being a radio personality, to being a writer, to being a producer, to being a visionary, to voiceover work. So definitely you can see that our today's guest is completely matching with this quote. And on that quote, we are closing today's episode. See you guys in the next episode. Until we meet, happy leading. Let's lead together. Stay safe. Bye for now.